Oh, Mingus used to come over too and play duets with me on the piano.
Oh, is that
When I
right?
was like 13. He lived across the park.
Oh, yeah.
My dad helped with that too because on Fifth Avenue, he was afraid they wouldn't rent to a black person in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
he had my dad racism.
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
No, no, not
that's
why. I mean, wow. It's amazing that your
yeah,
parents, your father was helping,
right. You
you
know, he
know.
did that. My house was kind of like a aid station for all kinds of musicians, and uh, Mingus had huge appetites. He'd come. We used to get in those days. You'd get seltzer bottles delivered. They'd put a big wooden thing with a bunch of and syrup. And you
Okay.
could order. You want chocolate syrup. You want grape. You want so you make your own sodas.
Sure. Okay.
If you
Interesting.
want it really sweet, you put more syrup. If you want it less, more seltzer. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would come, and we had these huge glasses. I don't know why. We had these giant things. They're kind of like German beer steins, but they're not. They were. And Mingus would come and make these ice cream sodas, like this much, with 4 scoops of ice cream. He'd put then he'd make chocolate or with vanilla ice cream or strawberry with orange soda. And he would down 3 or 4 of them in an afternoon.
That's crazy.
Like one of them, you would die. You'd go into diabetic shock.
I'm a diabetic. It would knock
Oh,
me
yeah,
out,
yeah.
man.
Oh,
It'd be
it would
over.
knock me out, and I'm not a diabetic. Put me. I'd have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, right.
And Mingus used to down those things.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
so people came over, and we had all kinds of people. Ken McIntyre, Edgar Bateman.
Okay.
This is Edgar Bateman. That's where is he? Oh, he's over there. But this is a painting of Edgar Bateman
Uh-huh.
and me, actually.
Huh.
Greatest drummer I ever heard. Edgar
Sure.
Bateman.
Let me ask you this: Mingus is such a sort of a he gets a certain reputation for being volatile or being
Yeah, he was.
but
He could be,
he must
sure.
have been kind to you, and
He was
you had a nice
very kind
relationship.
to me, man. Very kind to me, and I even argued with him once, and he got a kick out of that because very few people argued with him.
Sure.
He was physically like strong, like Superman shit.
Yeah.
I saw him take a metal bar and just bend it with his hands.
Whoa. Yeah.
Like that. Rasan too, like seriously strong, like superhuman shit.
Wow.
Physically,
Sure.
So yeah, you know what it was, and it was kind of funny looking back. He was saying to me something like, "Bobby, you gotta learn how to play sloppy, man. You don't want to wind up like one of them white studio drummers or something." Which if Mingus could see me now, he'd have no worries about that.
Yeah. Sure.
I never played anything perfect in my life. I think I pretty sloppy, as it goes. But and I argued with him 'cause I was 13 or something, and I said, "But Mingus, I don't even know how to play clean yet. You're telling me to play sloppy. I'm just a beginner, He said, "No, Bobby, you're gonna learn." But he got a kick out of it that I talked back to him, and of course, later on, I knew clearly what he meant. I knew what he meant. There's a point where if it's too clean or too correct, it doesn't sound good.
Sure.
That's why certain classical people have a hard time playing jazz music or any kind of black form, funk, R&B, African music. They have to unlearn the training
Sure.
to do it. They can do it. Musically, there's no reason why they couldn't. They have all the technique and the knowledge, But they're too clean. I remember a few students I had like that who were classically trained. They played every stroke, both hands moved exactly the same. No, you move hands different.
Sure.
Different sounds. And anyway, I understood totally what he meant. Mingus, he was totally right about it. I just didn't get it at the time. But he was very kind to me, and he loved my father. He loved my dad, Richard Champa Lodro. And he'd come over all the time for aid and support. He used to talk like a black James Joyce. You ever try to read James Joyce? It's like so abstract that just what's he talking about? But you might sort of have an idea. That's the beauty of it. Everybody would read it and think something else, maybe have their own idea. That's how he talks spontaneously. It's like a really abstract, free form. That's why I know for a fact that the book that came out that he was supposedly wrote, somebody wrote that.
Okay.
Because it's too normal. His speech was not like that. I saw a few pages of the original book, and it was like James Joyce, man. It was like nobody would have understood it, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure the publishing company said, no, we can't.
What are we going to do with this? Yeah.
We can't put this out.
Man, that's a trip.
So they got some guy to write it so it sounds like a normal person speaking, more or less, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was like that, and a great character, you know.
Sure.
But he could be tough, and he when he played live, he played one club for a whole year in the same place. Nobody who does that now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I used to go every Sunday, and I would sit in. It would be hardly anybody there. It'd be the matinee.
Wow.
Sunday matinee. I could go on the Sunday because there was no alcohol.
Was
So
that right?
when
Oh,
you're
they didn't serve alcohol.
underage, yeah, and I was clearly underage. I was 12 or 13 or 14, you know.
Sure.
Sunday matinee, kids could come. Well, I was the only kid there, but
Sure.
kids were allowed.
Huh.
And usually some point in the afternoon he would play. His steady band was Eric Dolphy, Ted Curson, Mingus, and Danny Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
But all kinds of other people would occasionally join him.
Sure.
You never knew it was going to be just the quartet. Or I saw Booker Irvin there. I saw John Handy. I saw Jackie Byard, I think. Nico Bunick, another piano player. So different people would come in, but he would play. And he often stopped the band in the middle of a tune at a live gig. Again, who does that?
Sure.
I remember one time playing something, and he got on the trumpet player, who was great, Ted Curson, great
Mm-hmm.
trumpet player. He said something like, he just stopped and he said, "This is a ballad, not a blues." Okay, conceptual. You know,
Sure.
He played it again. So, and you know, that kind of breaks all the normal rules of show business, which, you know,
Yeah.
you don't show that, the stuff you go through. You know,
Right.
at the end, you don't show your warts or your mistakes, you know. But I thought, this is great. How special is this? That you get a chance to see how they work on the music and how they improve it. And even if they stop and play the same tune 3 times, you know, for me as a musician, that was better. I mean, that was like such a great lesson. And of course, they did plenty of times they played without stopping. You know, it wasn't like they stopped
Right, of
all the
course.
time.
Mm-hmm.